Do you feel guilty when you can't fix everyone else's problems? Or do you find yourself carrying things that nobody actually asked you to carry? And maybe you've become so used to being the strong one, the helpful one, and the dependable one, that somebody else's struggle can quickly become your personal responsibility. And in this video, we're going to look at how you can still care deeply without carrying everything for everyone else, and actually put your well-being first. You can be supportive without becoming worn out, and you can be kind without making yourself responsible for fixing everybody else's life. Someone you care about is upset, something's gone wrong, there's tension in the room, and before anyone has even asked for help, your mind has already put on a fluorescent jacket with the word fixer on the rear, picked up a clipboard and announced, right, stand back, I'll fix this. And you start searching for the right words, the right solution, and the right way to make everybody feel better. And when you can't fix it, you may feel guilty, restless, or even though you've somehow failed. But perhaps today you need to hear this. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to solve everybody's problems. And you don't have to carry every difficult emotion. And you certainly don't have to make everything all right in order to be a kind and caring person. Hi, I'm Dave and welcome to today's Minecraft. And this channel is here to support you if you're someone who cares deeply, you often feel overwhelmed and want to quiet the noise in your mind and build gentle self-belief, strengthen your resilience and create a calmer, kinder relationship with yourself. And today we're going to explore why caring people can feel responsible for fixing everything, why that responsibility can become so tiring, and how you can continue to love, support and care for other people without carrying burdens that were never entirely yours to carry. Because there's a difference between helping somebody and taking responsibility for their whole life. And there's a difference between being supportive and becoming their emotional emergency service. And there's a difference between caring deeply and believing that everything depends on you. And many caring people have become extremely good at noticing when something is wrong. You sense a change in somebody's voice. You notice a pause before they answer. You pick up on the tension that nobody else seems to have noticed. And you can walk into a room and almost feel that something isn't right. That sensitivity can be a wonderful quality. It can make you compassionate, thoughtful, attentive, and emotionally aware. But it can also mean that you start believing it's your job to remove every discomfort that you notice. Someone's disappointed, so you try to cheer them up. Someone's angry, so you search for a way to calm them down. Two people aren't getting along, so you become the mediator. And someone makes a poor decision and you immediately start thinking how you can resolve it and save them from the consequences. You may even find yourself trying to fix problems that the other person hasn't even anticipated or seen as problems yet. And that's quite a job. Especially when the person you are trying to rescue hasn't requested the rescue boat. Sometimes this pattern begins very early in life, and perhaps you grew up in an environment where you learned to keep the peace. Maybe you became the sensible one, the responsible one, the person who noticed what everybody else needed. And perhaps the adults around you were overwhelmed and unpredictable or emotionally unavailable, so you learned to be helpful. You learn to avoid causing additional problems. You learn to read the room. And perhaps somewhere along the way your mind formed a belief. If the people around me are okay, then I'll be okay. Or it's my responsibility to keep everybody happy. Or if I can't help them, then I'm letting them down. Now, these beliefs may have helped you to cope at one time, but as an adult they can leave you carrying an enormous emotional workload. You become responsible not only for what you do, but for how everybody else feels, how everybody else behaves, the choices they make, the choices they avoid, and sometimes even the lessons they haven't yet learned. Is it any wonder you feel tired? You're trying to manage a department you were never actually appointed to run. And the difficult truth is some things can't be fixed by you. Some situations need time. Some people need professional support. Some relationships need honest boundaries. And and some problems belong to the person experiencing them. And some lessons can be only learned when we stop protecting people from every consequence of their own choice. That doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean walking away from the people you love. And it certainly doesn't mean that you should stop caring. It means learning to care in a way that doesn't destroy your own peace. Because there's moments when the kindest thing you can offer isn't a solution. It's your presence. It's listening without immediately trying to repair the situation. It's saying, that sounds really difficult, and I can understand why you feel that way. I'm here with you. Or would you like me to listen? Or would you like help thinking about what to do next? And that last question can be really helpful, because sometimes people don't want advice. They just want to feel heard, listened to. They want space to express what's happening. They want someone to sit beside them in the difficulty without treating their emotions like a faulty appliance that needs repairing immediately. And many of us have done this. Someone begins telling us about a problem, and within approximately 6 or 7 seconds we've produced a 5-point recovery plan, a suggested timetable, and possibly a spreadsheet too. All offered lovingly, of course, but sometimes our rush to fix everything can accidentally communicate. This feeling needs to disappear. This situation must be resolved now. You should be coping differently. When what the person really needs, maybe, at that moment is, I see you. You're not alone. You're allowed to feel what you feel. And there's an important phrase that may help here. Support does not always mean solve. You can support someone without taking control. You can offer advice without forcing an outcome. And you can care about what happens next without believing you're personally responsible for making it happen. And you can love someone while still allowing them to make their own choices. Even choices you wouldn't make yourself. Even choices you believe are unhelpful. And maybe even choices that make you want to gently take them by the shoulders and say, please stop doing that. We've discussed this. Because being an adult means having the freedom to make decisions. And sometimes, unfortunately, that includes the freedom to make decisions that are not especially sensible. And one of the hardest parts of caring for someone is recognising the boundary between what is within your control and what isn't. You can control how you speak. You can control what help you offer. You can control whether your support is respectful and appropriate. You can control your own boundaries. But you can't control whether someone accepts help. You can't control whether they follow advice. And you can't force another person to see something they're not yet ready to see. You can open the door. You can point towards the door. You can even place a lovely little sign next to the door. But you can't make another person walk through it. And when you repeatedly try, you may become frustrated, resentful, emotionally depleted, and increasingly disconnected from your own needs. And this is where the Minecraft framework can help us pause and look at the situation more clearly. First, we map where we currently are and what's going on. Ask yourself, what am I trying to fix? Has this person actually asked for my help? Am I supporting them, or am I taking responsibility for them? And what part of the situation genuinely belongs to me? And what am I afraid might happen if I step back? And that last question can reveal a great deal. Perhaps you fear being judged as selfish. Perhaps you worry the person will struggle. Perhaps you believe that if you don't intervene, something bad will happen and it will somehow be your fault. But feeling responsible doesn't always mean you are responsible. Your emotions may be real and your concern may be real, but the conclusion that everything depends upon you may not be accurate. Then we can nurture our mindset. Instead of telling yourself, I must sort this out, you might say, I can care without taking over. I can offer support, but I can't control the outcome. I am allowed to have limits. Another person's discomfort doesn't automatically mean I've done something wrong. And perhaps most importantly, I don't have to wear myself out to prove that I care. And that's worth repeating. You don't have to wear yourself out to prove you care. Love isn't measured by how depleted you become. Kindness isn't measured by how much of yourself you sacrifice. And being supportive doesn't require you to abandon your own emotional well-being. Then we develop resilience, because stepping back can feel uncomfortable. You may feel guilty, or you may worry about you being unkind. You may feel the urge to jump back in and take charge. And resilience in this situation means allowing that discomfort to be present without immediately obeying it. You can feel guilty and still hold a healthy boundary. You can feel concerned and still allow another adult to make their own decision. And you can feel the urge to rescue and still choose a more balanced response. And remember this, a feeling is not always an instruction. Guilt may simply mean you're doing something differently. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something wrong. Then we can clarify our next steps. Sometimes your next step may be to ask, what would be the most powerful and helpful thing for me right now? Sometimes it may be the offer of one-to-one practical action. Sometimes it may be to encourage a person to speak to a doctor, a counsellor, an advisor, or another appropriate professional. And sometimes it may be to say, I care about you, but I'm not able to take this on for you. And sometimes the healthiest next step is to do nothing immediately. It's actually to pause, to allow time, to let the situation breathe. Because urgency is not always the same as importance. And anxiety often tells us, do something now, even when the wisdom says, wait, observe, don't make this heavier by taking over. And there's an old truth that I believe many caring people need to remember. You can walk beside someone, but you can't walk their path for them. You can carry a bag for a while. You can offer them water. You can encourage them when the hill becomes steep. But you can't take every step on their behalf. And if you try, you may lose the opportunity for them to grow. Or both of you may. They may become less confident in their own ability to cope. And you may become trapped in the belief that you must always be the strong one, the dependable one, the one with the answer. But you're allowed not to know what to do. You're allowed to say, I'm not sure how to fix this. And you're allowed to admit that a situation is beyond your ability or responsibility. You're allowed to reach out and resource yourself. And you're allowed to ask for help too. In fact, one of the most loving things you can do is recognise when a situation requires more support than one person can provide. You're not meant to be someone's entire support network. You're not a doctor, a counsellor, financial advisor, relationship expert, crisis team and 24-hour helpline all rolled into one. And even if you happen to be qualified in one or more of these areas, you still can't be everything to everyone all of the time. You're a human being with limits, with needs, with emotions, and with a nervous system that also requires care. So how can you begin letting go of the need to fix everything? The first step is to simply notice when the fixing instinct appears. You might feel it as tension in your body, a tightening in your chest, a race in mind, an urge to send messages, make calls, research solutions, or reorganise someone else's life before you've even had a chance to finish your own cup of coffee. Pause, take a breath, and ask, is this mine to solve? Have I been asked to help? What would supportive involvement look like here? And what would over-involvement look like? And then decide what you can realistically offer. Perhaps you can listen for 20 minutes. Perhaps you can help make that phone call. Perhaps you can provide some information. Perhaps you can check in again tomorrow. But define your role. Don't quietly agree to carry the entire situation and then become resentful when nobody notices how heavy it is. Clear boundaries are kinder than hidden resentment. And remember, you're not abandoning someone when you encourage them to use their own abilities. You aren't failing someone when you direct them towards appropriate support. And you aren't selfish for protecting your own time, energy, and emotional health. and you aren't responsible for preventing every difficult moment in the lives of people you care about. Sometimes we grow through support, and sometimes we grow because somebody believes in us enough not to take over. And perhaps there's someone in your life right now whose situation you've been carrying. Perhaps you think about it when you wake up. You replay it throughout the day. You lie in bed trying to find an answer. You may be physically in your own home, but mentally you're living inside someone else's problem. And perhaps today you can place that burden down for a moment. Not because you don't care, but because you do. Because healthy care needs breathing space. Because love needs boundaries. And because you can't continue pouring from yourself without allowing yourself to be topped up and restored. You can say, I care about this person. I hope things improve. I will offer the support that's appropriate and possible for me. And I will release what I can't control. And that's not indifference. That's emotional wisdom. You don't have to fix everything. Some things need listening. Some things need patience. And some things need professional help. Maybe some things need consequences too. And some things just need time. And some things were never yours to carry in the first place, because your value doesn't come from being indispensable, and your goodness doesn't depend upon rescuing everybody, and your right to rest doesn't begin only when every other person around you is happy. You're allowed to care without carrying. You're allowed to help without losing yourself, and you're allowed to be present without having all of the answers. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, I can't fix this for you, but I believe you can take the next step. And I will walk beside you where I genuinely can. And maybe that's the lesson to take away with you today. You don't need to become less caring. You simply need to include yourself within the circle of your care, because your peace matters too, as does your energy. And your life isn't meant to be spent continually repairing every storm that appears on somebody else's horizon. Sometimes you can offer shelter. You can offer guidance. And sometimes you have to trust that the other person will learn how to hold their own umbrella, even if they initially insist on standing in the rain and complaining about the weather. So, if this message has resonated with you, please share this video with someone who may also need to hear it. Thank you for being here. Take good and kind care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.